Until we come and liberate it, nothing will be resolved in Ukraine. This will drag on for decades unless we take the entire territory under forceful administrative and state control. The specific territorial or political arrangement is something we would discuss later, but this is the only condition for the survival of Ukraine and the Ukrainian ethnos, not the nation.
Midwinter, freezing cold, and Russian terrorists just launched an Oreshnik missile at Ukraine, hitting multiple regions with their full-on combined strike. Thousands of civilians are left without water, heat, or electricity. And in the Kremlin, they already cook up an excuse. Apparently, this was their revenge for an assassination attempt on Putin, which, surprised, never actually happened. New week, new Russian nonsense. I'm Sofia, and this is Spin Snipers, where we tear apart Kremlin drama and serve up the brutal facts fast. The top story in Russia today, of course, a nasty attack on Ukrainian cities. In Moscow, they are not even trying to hide their glee, claiming that the Oreshnik is the perfect tool to hit Lviv region. Yeah, because nothing says holiday spirit like bragging about bombing civilians.
The Ministry of Defense said that this is a response to what happened in Valdai, but in fact, this is a response for what happened while we were waiting for the use of the same Oreshnik, including what happened in the Belgorod region. We know that the enemy struck there with missiles, targeting civilian objects. We now hit specifically energy infrastructure, the components that make it up. Accordingly, as the Ministry of Defense stated, these are drone systems, long-range drones, which generally speaking fly toward us, you could say by the hundreds. I think this is the enemy's deepest rear, which can be effectively reached only by Oreshnik or air-launched missiles. But Oreshnik is much more effective.
Retaliation for Belgorod, they say. Right, just a quick reality check. Ukraine did not start this war. Ukraine did not cross the border with tanks. Ukraine did not come to a neighboring country to restore order. After almost 12 years of war, one thing is painfully clear. Russia only understands the language of force. And if someone in Moscow seriously believes that blackouts, missiles and terror against Ukrainian cities will go unanswered, that's not strategy, that's delusion. But let me be clear, this was not our choice. We didn't start this war and we didn't choose this path. Meanwhile, Russian talking heads are already explaining that Lviv was targeted by a Oreshnik missile because of its anti-Russian views. Translation: this is not about Belgorod, it's a message to Ukraine and to the West.
And so, over Lviv itself, the place that cultivated these views, suddenly something hits. In absolutely, as I understand it, a didactic manner. Yes, most likely the gas storage was hit. Well, this is a greeting not just to the but a big greeting to Europe as well. There's something stored there too.
Meanwhile, in Moscow, they are already screaming about revenge for an attack on Putin's residence, which, by the way, never actually happened. Not even a little. Zero. But of course, on Russian TV, following the classic script, they insist otherwise.
At the same time, I want to say that when now or in the future, there is some outright crossing of red lines, such as attacks by the armed forces of Ukraine using unmanned aerial vehicles on the president's residence in the Novgorod region. A retaliatory strike will be inevitable. It will definitely follow. And of course, we will not sit idly by when the residence of the President of Russia, which is sacred, is attacked from the air, regardless of whether the head of state is there or not. This is unacceptable.
Putin's residence a sacred place. Honestly, I'm in shock. These words really should not coexist with someone who has killed thousands of innocent people in his lifetime. This whole story just shows the Kremlin's cynicism, zero interest in negotiations, inventing all sorts of excuses to justify violence against ordinary people. And here is the kicker: even Donald Trump, usually friendly to him, did not buy it. US intelligence found no evidence to support the claim of an attack on Putin. Meanwhile, in Moscow, they are already screaming about new threats.
And it is possible that this retaliatory strike will not be the last. Given that our Ukrainian enemies, I wanted to put it more mildly, are behaving outside of logic, not responding to any persuasion, to any continuation of the negotiation mechanism between Russia and the United States on ending the conflict, and instead continue their monstrous, brutal, and completely warped, illogical actions.
The Oreshnik strike got everyone talking, and even Kremlin blogger Medvedev popped up in Russia's banned Telegram, hinting that Moscow might ignore international law and act solely in its own interest. Really? Yeah, we already figured that out. Fact check: Russia is systematically violating international law, bombing Ukrainian cities and targeting civilians. Any claims about chaos in the West are not analysis, they are just a cover for their crimes. Reality check: international relations have been in chaos for years, largely due to the Kremlin.
In any case, one should take into account that the current international relations have, since the beginning of the year, turned into outright bedlam. And we must behave accordingly. There are too many violent ones around. With the understanding that such sick people are never calmed by the admonitions of kind psychiatrists, only by orderlies with huge fists and phlegmatic faces. Because dangerous lunatics require either a straitjacket or a saving injection of haloperidol. Just like last night in the west of the controlled outskirts.
The cynical strike on Ukraine was not the only thing Kremlin propagandists were talking about. Of course, they also brought up their discussions in Paris about the deployment of French and British troops after a ceasefire.
Here, it must be obviously understood that we are dealing not just with but in fact with those who have somehow made the decision to deploy troops in the future after a peace in Ukraine, that is in fact occupation forces, the United Kingdom and France.
Occupying troops? Seriously, France and the UK are not planning to invade Ukraine, unlike Russia. Invading Russia? Not on the agenda either. These troops could theoretically, though knowing Russia it's questionable, serve as one of Ukraine's security guarantees. And if Russia truly does not plan to attack and actually wants peace, as their negotiations tell the US team, then what's all this noise and threats about?
This is a pointless undertaking. To intrude into what we call a special military operation, the goals of which must undoubtedly be achieved. Even the German Merz said that without Russia, nothing can be done here, that one must keep in mind that Russia exists, but instead they somehow put us outside the brackets, along with Oreshnik and everything else, and most importantly, along with our undeniable historical truth and justice.
In Russia, they are still spinning tales about historical justice, twisting facts and history to suit themselves. Reality check: they have zero intentions of peace, and Ukraine, together with the West, must stay ready for defend their border and their people. That's it for today. While the Russian propaganda machine keeps running, we'll keep exposing their lies. I'm Sofia, and this was Spin Snipers. Stay alert, stay skeptical, and don't fall for the spin.